Tasya bhaktanscha niyunjakopi Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavat Prasadam Sadhana Triptan Hari Bhakta Sangam Kritvaiva Triptim Bhajata Sadaiva Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Shri Radhikama Davayorapara Madhurya Leela Gunarupanam Pratikshana Swadana Lolupasya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Nikunjayo Ratike Jishirai Yaya Lidhiryo Tirapekshaniya Tatrati Dakshad Ativallabhasya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Sakshadarittvena Samasta Shastrir Yuktasthata Bhavataiva Sadbhir Kintu Prabhorya Priyaiva Tasya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Yasya Prasadam Bhagavat Prasado Yasya Prasadam Bhagati Bhutopi Dhyanstu Vanstasya Yasya Stri Sandhyam Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Namaho Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinayana Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravadine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Dekatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Namaste Narasimhaya Dala Dara Dadaile Hiranyakashipurvapsaha Silatanka Nakhalaye Ito Nasinha Parato Nasinha Yato Yato Yamitato Nasinha Bahir Nasinha Hridaye Nasinha Narasingha Madim Saranam Prapate Tavakara Kamalavare Nakam Adhuta Singha Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubhringa Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya देवे प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णुभक्ति प्रदे देवी सत्यवते नमो नमः वृन्दाय तुलसी देवे प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णुभक्ति प्रदे देवी सत्यवते नमो नमः वृन्दाय तुलसी देवे प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णुभक्ति प्रदे देवी सत्यवते नमो नमः नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः राधा कृष्ण सेवा पावो हे अभिलाषी जे तुम्हारा शरण लाए तारा वंशा पूर्ण कृपा करी करतारे वृंदावनवासी मोरा अभिलाष विलास कुंजे दियो वास नयने मेरी सदा जुगल रूप राशि निवेदन धारा सकीरनुगात करा सेवाधिकार दिए करो निज दासी दीन कृष्ण दास काय जन मुरहाय श्री राधा गोविंद प्रेम सदाय भासी ज्ञानी कानि च पापानि ब्रह्म हत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि नश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिण पदे पदे ज्ञानी कानि च पापानि ब्रह्मत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिण पदे पदे ज्ञानी कानि च पापानि ब्रह्मत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिण पदे पदे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय तुलसी महारानी जय तुलसी महारानी तुलसी महारानी जय तुलसी महारानी जय भक्ति देवी जय वृंदे देवी भक्ति देवी जय वृंदे देवी वृंदाय तुलसी देवी प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णु भक्ति प्रदे देवी सत्यवते नमो नमः वृंदाय तुलसी देवी प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णु भक्ति प्रदे देवी सत्यवते नमो नमः वृंदाय तुलसी देवी प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णु भक्ति प्रदे देवी सत्यवते नमो नमः श्रीमती तुलसी महारानी भक्ति वृंद देवी की Yes, Mother.
Why is it
Disappearance.
tomorrow?
Tomorrow is Ramanuja.
Yes, yes,
हाँ पढ़ता हूँ
कल रामानुचार्य
तिरुभाव
आज किसका
माधवाचार्य Sri Madhvacharya appeared in 1238 AD near Udupi, Karnataka in South India. He was considered an incarnation of Vayu, wind god. He had an unusually strong physique and extraordinary intellectual power. Once a fierce Bengali tiger attacked Madhvacharya's sannyas disciple, Satya Tirtha. Madhvacharya wrestled the tiger and sent him away with his tail between his legs. Madhvacharya took Diksha at age 5, sannyas at 12 and left home. He appeared with a mission to fight and defeat Shankara's Mayavad philosophy. By giving a pure interpretation of Vedanta Sutra, he promoted pure theism. He named his innovative Shastric explanation Dvaita Dvaitavad, pure dualism. After Shankaracharya, who had previously toured India spreading impersonalism, Madhvacharya also travelled the length and breadth of India preaching personal theism and devotion to Lord Vishnu. He defeated innumerable Jains, Buddhists, Mayavadis, atheists, logicians and agnostics. With the hope of meeting Srila Vyasadeva himself, Madhvacharya walked up the Himalayas. Vyasadeva gave him a Saligram Śrīla called Ashtamurti, approved his Bhagavad Gita commentary and blessed Madhvacharya with deeper realizations of the Shastras. In Udupi, Madhvacharya installed the beautiful deity of Gopal standing alone holding a cow herding stick. The deity manifested from within a chunk of Gopi Chandana. He established 8 mathas to lovingly serve Udupi Krishna. The sannyasi leaders of each matha worship the Kṛṣna deity with a rigorous regimen of ceremonial ritual, punctuality and impeccable personal conduct. Every Ekadashi they observe Nirjala. The Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya originates with the Madhavas. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers thoroughly studied Madhava's works before compiling their philosophy. For the Sat Sandarbha, Sri Jiva Goswami drew heavily from Madhava's writings. Jiva Goswami found the Gaudiya philosophy of Achinta Bheda Bheda Tattva in Madhava's Bhagavad Parya. Sri Chaitanya himself visited Udupi, the seat of Madhava's sect. The Lord introduced Harinam Sankirtan into their sect. The Madhavas and Gaudiyas share many of the same philosophical points, but consider it necessary to surrender to the lotus feet of the Guru Padashraya. In Sutra Bhashya, Madhvacharya cites the Brihat Tantra and Mahasmita to show that a disciple may reject a bogus Guru who proves to be useless. He may then accept another qualified self-realized person as his Guru. In Prameya Ratnavali, Sri Baldev Vidyabhushan summarized the 9 principles common to both Sri Chaitanya's and Madhava's teachings. In Vaishnava Siddhant Mala, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered all Gaudiya Vaishnavas to carefully observe the 9 instructions of truth given by Sri Madhvacharya through our Guru Parampara. So these are Sri Madhvacharya's 9 teachings. First is Bhagavan Shri Krishna alone is the supreme absolute truth, one without a second. Second, he is the object of knowledge in all the Vedas. Third, the universe is real, Satya. Fourth, the differences between Ishvara, Jiva and matter are real. Fifth, Jiva souls are by nature the servants of the Supreme Lord Hari. Sixth, there are 2 categories of Jivas, liberated and illusioned. Seventh, liberation, moksha, means attaining the lotus feet of Bhagavan Krishna. In other words, entering an eternal relationship of service to the Supreme Lord. Pure devotional service to Krishna is the only way to attain this liberation. Ninth, the truth may be known by pratyaksha, anuman, shabda. Sri Madhvacharya serves as Madhuri Gopi in Radha Govinda's eternal Vrindavan pleasure pastimes.
ये 9 पॉइंट का प्रिंट आउट चाहिए महाराज को बाद में.
हाँ, I'm reading some other things also. Yes, Maharaja.
प्रिंट अच्छा रहेगा रीडिंग के लिए.
I'm reading some other book also.
ये तो तुम्हारी बुक है.
समाधि बुक है यहाँ पर.
तुम्हारी है. हमने पढ़ा हुआ है तुम्हारी बुक है.
हाँ, मैं चेक कर लेता हूँ.
ये वो है.
सरस्वती
समाधि बुक से
समाधि
ये पढ़ा वो
पढ़ चुके।
अच्छा
ये ऑर्डर किया है।
ठीक है, और कुछ है पढ़िए।
Yes, I am reading from a brief sketch of life and teachings of Sri Madhvacharya. So,
वो
इसमें लिखा है
बढ़िया
by
This
Yeah,
we
yeah.
found from internet, so this PDF we got.
ओके ओके
okay, I am reading about the birth and childhood of Madhvacharya. Birth and child of Madhvacharya. Madhyagya Bhatta's prayers were answered, and by Lord's grace, he got a son who became the great Acharya. It was Mukhya Prana who entered the body of Madhyagya's wife, and she delivered a beautiful infant with large eyes and a moon-like face. The father named him Vasudev to indicate that he was born to give the correct knowledge to the world, and that he would ever be devoted to Lord Narayana. In Sanskrit, Va means knowledge, Asu means Pranam, wind, and Deva means God. Sri Madhava was born in 1238 on the Vijayadashmi day at a place called Pajaka near Udupi, otherwise known as Rajatapitapuram. Miraculous events occurred centering on Vasudev even from infancy. Madhyagya Bhatta, the father, took the infant one day to the temple of Ananteshwara at Udupi and dedicated him to the Lord. His path lay through forests inhabited by man-eating wild animals. But having the divine boy in his hand, the father could pass through these regions without any danger. Vasudev grew day by day, a veritable picture of growing health and cheer. Once Vasudeva's parents left him with his elder sister to attend an urgent duty. Infant Vasudeva began to cry. All efforts to calm him proved of no avail. She thought that the child must be hungry and fed him boiled horse gram meant for cows. Child ate until the whole quantity was exhausted. The little child was not in the least affected. In another incident, 1-year-old Vasudeva suddenly disappeared from home. Parents were naturally worried and went about searching. Their quest was fruitless for hours. At last, they met the child coming alone merrily, hanging from the tail of a bull. Bull is an indication of dharma. By this, Sri Madhava showed that he has come to follow dharma and will never at any stage leave dharma. He will always walk in the path of dharma. Once Madhyagya Bhatta happened to be entangled in difficulty by not being able to repay a debt of a bullock bought from a debtor. The debtor sat at the door and refused to move until the debt was repaid. Vasudeva, realizing the situation, promptly made up his mind how to act. He went round the house and beckoned to the debtor to go with him. Vasudeva picked up a few tamarind seeds and gave it to him. To his surprise, it had turned out to be coins amounting to full discharge of the dues. The debtor returned to Madhyagya Bhatta and told him that he was free. Because the boy had repaid the debt, actually Vasudeva satisfied the debtor of his father by giving him only tamarind seeds, creating in him the feeling that through the seeds, what was bestowed on him was the great consummation, moksha. Once when Vasudeva was 3 years old, his parents took him along to attend a function at a place called Nidihur. In the midst of the function, Vasudeva suddenly disappeared. Vasudeva went into a neighboring forest. Though warned by travelers on the way about the dangers there, he proceeded and performed worship to Lord Narayana in the temple in the forest of Kaddur and stayed at another temple of Shiva at Banarji. From there he went to Udupi and worshipped at the shrine of Ananteshwara. Tearful parents began vigorous search. Some said they saw a child at Kodavur. Some said they saw him at Banarji temple. They could not find Vasudeva. They came to Udupi and arrived at Ananteshwara temple. Vasudeva was standing before Ananteshwara with folded hands. When questioned as to who protected him in all these dangerous regions, he replied, "Why? Shankara Narayan escorted me to Banarji. Sri Hari of that temple guided my steps to the east temple of Udupi, and that deity brought me here. I travelled not alone and unescorted. He was a child to show the divine path to the people." We see that Sri Madhava told the same thing to the Muslim king in his 30s. When the child completed 3 years, his father initiated his educational lessons. Aksharabhyasa. There was no need to teach him. The ocean of intelligence that he was, he knew the alphabets already. The capacity to learn of anything new without effort was soon manifest. He allowed himself to be taught only once and no more. He tolerated no repetition or revision, for that was superfluous. Father was surprised and happy and was struck by the child's grasping power. Once when Vasudeva was 5, while attending a discourse with his mother at Niyampalli, he boldly found fault in the rendering and corrected him and gained the applause of the audience. He did the same kind of correction when his father during a discourse could not remember the meaning of a word and avoided that word. Vasudeva stood out and gave the correct exposition himself. By this he showed that wrong things should be pointed out and corrected and must not remain a silent spectator. Upanayana and studies. When Vasudeva was 5, his father performed his Upanayana. He was sent to study Nyaya, Vedas and classics, Vedangas, etc. to a teacher, Pugavana. Puga means betel nut, Vana means garden. Descent, a respected Vedic scholar of that period. He was very quick in mastering what he was taught. So quick that his grasp puzzled his master and led him to believe that he did not pay sufficient attention to his lessons. He would appear only at the time of the lessons and would spend rest of the time in playfield. In the field, his strength and agility were matchless. Whether running, swimming, wrestling, jumping, or any other game, he would come first. Even when attacked by a group of his classmates, he would humble them with terrific blows. Acharya Madhava attached much importance to good physique. If the body is weak, the growth of intellect too will be weak. One should take care to be strong, not in body alone, but also in mind too, was his message. Sri Madhava proved his strength even in his 40s. Once he overheard his disciples discussing about their physical strength. He called 15 of them who were around 20 years of age for wrestling with him. Acharya warded off his disciple with a single blow. All of them fell to the ground. In wrestling, his grip was so tight and strong that there was no escape or release, unless he chose to give up. But nobody could hold Vasudeva even for a while. By this, he showed that nobody can hold him except God. He has come to show a way out from the miseries of the world and is not here to bound.
Yes. Yes.
Read.
He has come to show a way out from the miseries of the world and is not here to be bound by any worldly matters. No boulder of rock was too heavy for him. In short, he showed Bhima's strength and courage in sports. Vasudeva used to spend a lot of time at the Durga temple near his house. Once he was attacked by a snake on the way to the hilltop. It is believed that the asura known as Maniman in Mahabharata dwelt in the woods as a snake. The onslaught was both quick and fierce. But Vasudeva was cool and courageous and crushed the serpent hood with his toe. Whole village was bested by this and could hardly believe their eyes. But the plain truth was there beyond any controversy. As Vasudeva did not return home in the usual time, his mother, anxious at his prolonged absence, called Vasudeva loudly by his name. Sure enough, he appeared in a twinkle. In order to effect his purpose, they say that Vasudeva took a long jump from where he was to the front of his house and presented in front of his mother. He began the day's proceedings by performing a feat of Bhimasen by crushing a great Rakshasa and ended with the miracle of by a wonderful jump as only Hanuman could accomplish. This can be seen even today at Bajaka. By this we must understand that anything poisonous should be destroyed. Poisonous not only to the body but also to the mind, which leads us away from our goal to realize God. When the studies were approaching completion, teacher started teaching the great 𝐾𝐢𝐬𝐭𝐫𝐚𝐜𝐿. This is the first among Upanishads given by Mahidas. This is the work of which Vasudeva was particularly fond. His great liking for this Upanishad continued throughout his life. When the teacher began an exposition of this work on the old beaten lines, Vasudeva took him apart and expounded the verse impressively in his own way. In strict accordance with well-known canons of interpretation, basing his views on the accepted works of authority. The teacher was convinced with the result that a genuine bhakti for Govinda was imparted in his heart. This was the fitting Guru Dakshina for the teacher. It was Guru's good fortune that he stumbled once in a way on such a gem of a pupil, and his reward was a prize. With tears of joy and gratitude, the Guru dismissed Vasudeva, invoking God's choicest blessings on his head. While bidding him goodbye, he charged him with the great mission of instructing the world in the paths of devotional worship and creating among people a school of true bhakti towards the Lord Sri Krishna. Sannyas. Vasudeva fell to serious meditation and made up his mind to the course of action he should adopt. He knew his mission. He knew that he was not born to marry, multiply, and make an exit. He realized that his duty to God, to himself, and his fellow men summoned him to the war path, to battle with false knowledge, overthrow the sovereignty of ignorance, and re-establish truth on its throne. He was convinced that the best mode of achieving this end was by an early renunciation of worldly life and family ties, and to enter the order of sannyasi. Without apprising his father of his resolution, he came to a monastery in Akare, a village near Udupi, where a sannyasi, Achyuta Preksha, a sincere, genuine man of great piety, was the head. The headquarters of this ascetic was the mutt of Banderkare, a few miles north of Udupi. Achyuta Preksha was a learned man who had faithfully studied Advaita under his guru. He apparently belonged to a line of ascetics whose faith in monism was not very ardent. Vasudeva was at once accepted as a secular novice to undergo a term of probation, preliminary to enrollment in the sacred order. Meanwhile, Madhyagya Bhatta, on discovering his lad's intentions, was almost heartbroken. He begged and tried his best to change Vasudeva's mind, but in vain. He returned home and conveyed the news to his wife. Both felt a void which was impossible to fulfill. Madhyagya Bhatta set out again to try again to change his son's mind. Conversion between the two heated up and at one stage threatened to put an end to himself if his son should have his way. The son tore up a piece of cloth, put it on as a sannyasin's kopina, and challenged his father to carry out the threat. Temper cooled. Vasudeva was the only son. Vasudeva promised not to enter sacred order until the younger brother, who was to become the famous Vishnu Tirtha, the head of Swademat, was born. At last a son was born. On hearing this, Vasudeva paid a flying visit to home to speak to his mother. He told her that he must have her permission to enter the holy order, and that if it was refuted, she might be sure that she could never look at his face again and will be lost in the wide world forever. The maternal love reconciled, arguing that it was better to have her son before her eyes, sannyasi as he might be, than to lose him out of sight forever. With the permission of Vasudeva's parents, he was initiated into sannyasa by Achyuta Preksha under the name Purna Pragya. Purna means full, complete, and Pragya means knowledge, Sarvagya. Soon after, Purna Pragya expressed a desire to go to Ganga for a holy bath. In response to the earnest prayers of the Guru, Mother Ganga came gurgling up in their mud's pond for all to bathe in the holy rivers. This helps to retain Purna Pragya at the mud for a while. Purna Pragya began to receive instructions in the doctrine of Advaita Vedanta, but difference of opinion between the Guru and the disciple began to crop up soon. Purna Pragya's deep study of scriptures was unparalleled and had convinced him of the uselessness of the Advaita interpretation of Vedanta. He carefully studied the Vedanta commentaries of different acharyas. Soon his expertise in scriptural argument and his determination to establish personal theism as the conclusion of Vedanta grew to the point where he could defeat his guru in argument. When Bhagavata recitals were taking place, Purna Prajna amended the renderings of the passages that were recited. On scrutinizing several texts, it was found that Purna Prajna was correct. The astonished Guru asked him how he could know the whole Bhagavad so thoroughly. The pupil replied that he had known all that in previous births. Recognizing Purna Prajna's superior scholarship, his power of exposition, and divine inspiration of Purna Prajna, Achyuta Pariksha made him the head of the Mata and awarded the title Ananda Tirtha. Ananda Tirtha. Ananda means bliss and Tirtha means doctrine, scriptures, Shastra, Siddhant. The expression compliments the master as the maker or exponent of blissful scriptures. Madhva, the name by which he is generally known, is also a synonym of his real name, the doctrine which gives most desirable moksha. First South Indian tour. For some years from now, Sri Madhva spent his time confronting arrogant scholars who came to challenge him. The first of these were Buddhi Sagara and Vadisima, who being defeated in debate had to bolt away at night unknown to any. He first undertook a tour up to Kanyakumari accompanied by his guru. At that time, Vijayanagara was fairly prosperous kingdom. To the south of Vijayanagara kingdom comprised Mysore, and the west coast was under the rule of descendant of King Vishwadharana from King Vishwadharana, whom Sri Ramanuja had converted to Vaishnavism in the 12th century. Wherever he went, the influence of Islam was spreading. Christianity too was making headway. The country was facing a piquant situation under these alien religious influences. Besides, the Indian people themselves were helpless spectators to squabbles among their own religious sects, various castes and creeds, etc. Acharya toured the country at such a time of disturbed philosophical situation and brought reassurance to the people. They were impressed with the saint and listened to his discourses with devout attention. His following steadily grew. After starting from Udupi, travelling south, in due course reached Vishnu Mangalam, a favorite place of Sri Acharya. It is said here he chose to exhibit an extraordinary feat of digestion by consuming 200 bananas after meal, as per the request of Brahmins of rival school, which appeared an impossibility. After visiting Ananta Shayana, he proceeded to Calicut and Kochi. Sri Madhva moved much in the strip of country lying between Kumaradhara and Netravati. After a stay of 4 months at Rameshwaram, he visited Sri Rangnath temple as Sri Rangam. The chronicle of Sri Mushnam, famous Bhuvara temple, contains a reference to Sri Madhva's visit to the place. It mentions a holy pond known as Danda Tirtha, sanctified and created by Sri Madhva's Danda. Wherever he went, he debated the prominent scholars of the impersonal school, smashing their interpretations of Vedanta with his brilliant advocacy of dualistic theism. He was met with stiff opposition, but no one could overcome him in spiritual argument or logical debate. Challenged by scholars to explain the scriptures at one meeting, Sri Ananda Tirtha demonstrated that each Vedic sukta had 3 meanings, the Mahabharata 10 meanings, and Vishnu Sahasranama 100 meanings. It is said that Acharya was challenged by an eminent scholar of Sri Shankara to write his own commentary on Vedanta. Acharya disagreed with Sri Ramanujam's Vishishta Advaitavad. This further added to the young Madhvacharya's determination to compose his own commentary, incorporating his own unique interpretation. After establishing his reputation among the scholars of southern regions, he returned to Udupi. The confrontation with scholars of various schools like Shankara and Ramanuja made him convinced of the need for founding a new school of thought. Pilgrimage to Badari. After 7 years of stay at Udupi, he started with the permission of his teacher.
Look for the story where he sees a ship that is going
Where he sees?
स्टोरी सुन लो जो महाराजा ने उडुपी कृष्णा को पकड़ा तो शिप जा रहा था अटक गया वो वाला स्टोरी
शिप डूबने वाला था तो वहाँ तो जाए नहीं
Founding Krishna temple at Udupi. Yes, what I'm reading that.
उडुपी Christianity is found.
Yes.
Yes.
Founding Krishna temple at Udupi.
Okay.
The most outstanding event of Madhva's life during this period of stay at Udupi was the founding of the Sri Krishna temple. When he stayed in Udupi, it was Madhva's regular habit to bathe in the ocean. It was on one of these occasions that a remarkable incident happened. One day, as he started for the ocean bath in the wee hours of the morning, it occurred to him that he might himself compose a short book of sonnets capable of being set to music. He began at once. As he walked to the sea shore, which is 3 miles from Udupi, he composed at ease 5 chapters of about 46 verses, which is the famous Dvadasa Stotra. All this was obviously the result of a presentiment. When the idea of composing the Stotram occurred to him, he was intently thinking of Sri Krishna. It flashed to him that Sri Krishna was on his way to Udupi to settle down for the benefit of his bhaktas. This prevision elated his spirits and facilitated the flow of prayerful music. He danced mentally to the tune of the divine music and sang on absent-mindedly during all the oblations. At last he went to the sands and sat down for further meditation. While thus engaged, he opened his eyes suddenly and they lighted up a ship in distress bound for Dwarka. Taking up his handkerchief, he waved it at the ship, and sure enough, the ship did float safely to the shore. The master of the ship approached Acharya and begged him to accept some return. Maharaja accepted a large chunk of Gopi Chandana, a paste with a kind of earth. Chapters 6 to 12 were completed in the course of the day. The cloud was taken to Udupi and washed at Madhava Sarovar. There stood the magnificent image of Gopal Krishna holding a churning rod in one hand and churning rope in the other. The idol was originally carved by Vishwakarma and given to Rukmini Devi, Krishna's consort in Dwarka, to worship. After cleaning and puja performed by Acharya, even 30 persons could not carry it to the mat, as the presence of Sri Krishna was infused into it by the sacred touch of Acharya. But Madhava, who was all powerful, Vayu incarnated, could carry it easily and installed it at the temple in Udupi, where it remains today. Sri Madhava regulated the method and formulae of worship. He codified the procedure in minutest details and led the way by conducting the ritual of worship in person. 9 times in the day, an elaborate program of worship and prayers was followed by Sri Madhava. He reformed the ways of sacrificial rites and included them in devotional disciplines, especially for householders. He introduced the use of animal forms made of a paste of black gram powder and ghee in place of animals in the sacrifices. Second pilgrimage to Badari.
You read the story again.
Founding Krishna temple at Udupi. The most outstanding event of Madhva's life during this period of stay at Udupi was the founding of the Sri Krishna temple. When he stayed in Udupi, it was Madhva's regular habit to bath in the ocean. It was on one of these occasions that a remarkable incident happened. One day, as he started for the ocean bath in the wee hours of the morning, it occurred to him that he might himself compose a short book of sonnets capable of being set to music. He began at once. As he walked to the seashore, which is 3 miles from Udupi, he composed at each 5 chapters of about 46 verses, which is the famous Dvadasa Stotras. All this was obviously the result of a presentiment. When the idea of composing the Stotram occurred to him, he he was intently thinking of Sri Krishna. It flashed to him that Sri Krishna was on his way to Udupi to settle down for the benefit of his success. This prevision elated his spirits and facilitated the flow of prayerful music. He danced mentally to the tune of divine music and sang on absent-mindedly during all the oblations. At last, he went to the sands and sat down for further meditation. While thus engaged, he opened his eyes suddenly and they lightened up a ship in distress bound for Dwarka. Taking up his handkerchief, he waved it at the ship, and sure enough the ship did float safely to the shore. The master of the ship approached Acharya and begged him to accept some return. Maharaja accepted a large chunk of Gopi Chandana, a paste with a kind of earth. Chapter 6 to 12 were completed in the course of the day. The clod was taken to Udupi and washed at Madhava's Sarovar. There stood the magnificent image of Gopal Krishna holding a churning rod in one hand and churning rope in the other. The idol was originally carved by Vishwakarma and given to Rukmini Devi, Krishna's consort in Dwarka, to worship. After cleaning and puja performed by Acharya, even 30 persons could not carry it to the mat, as the presence of Sri Krishna was infused into it by the sacred touch of Acharya. But Madhva, who was all-powerful bio-incarnated, could carry it easily and installed it at the temple in Udupi, where it remains today. Sri Madhva regulated the method and formula of worship. He codified the procedure in minutest details and led the way by conducting the ritual of worship in person. 9 times in the day, an elaborate program of worship and prayers was followed by Sri Madhva. He reformed the ways of sacrificial rites and included them in devotional disciplines, especially for householders. He introduced the use of animal forms made of a paste of black gram powder and ghee in place of animals in the sacrifices. Second pilgrimage to Gadari. Madhva had made a long stay at Udupi and went on another tour to North India up to Badrika Ashrama, crossing mountains and rivers on the way. Once they had to cross Ganges and no boats were available. Madhva told his followers to hold one another by hand and descend boldly into the current and led the party into surging gulf. The Muslim guards of the king placed entire camp under arrest. Madhva spoke in Persian to the king Sultan Jalal Khilji. The king was mighty pleased and offered a part of his kingdom if Sri Madhva agreed to stay. But Madhva refused and continued his journey. Many a times he saved himself and the rest from grave situations. He met Vyasa again at Badrika Ashrama. Madhva conceived the idea of epitomizing Mahabharata into a handy volume so that characters and the moral might impress themselves upon the reader in their true significance. He consulted Vyas and with permission he condensed the essence of the epic and wrote out the purpose in 32 chapters known as Mahabharata Tatparya Nirnaya, which is a must book for all Madhvas to study. Vyasa presented 8 saligrams of rare value to Sri Madhva. These are found in worship in 4 places, one each at Udupi, Subramanya, Madhyatala, and the remaining 5 at Uttaradi Matta. On his way back to Udupi, he travelled extensively Delhi, Kurukshetra, Banaras, Goa, etc. and performed miracles many times. Stay at Udupi. Acharya made Udupi his headquarters and was engaged in philosophical pursuits. He immersed himself in prolific literary. He wrote commentaries on 10 major Upanishads, Dasa Prakarans and Anuvyakhya, a summary on Mahabharata called the Moksha Dharma, and commented on Srimad Bhagavatam. He, however, had to face considerable opposition. When people could not confront him successfully on the spiritual text, some took to shameful and petty ways. Attempts were made to break his danda, to kill him with the help of Kodinjadi brothers, wrestlers, etc. A smear campaign also took place, but the opponents had to suffer failure. By this time, Acharya had a priceless collection of books. During his travels, he had collected many rare texts for his philosophical research. A sannyasin, Padma Tirtha, and a Pandit, Pundarika Puri, who were defeated while arguing, stole these priceless books of Acharya. They thought that spread of Dvaita philosophy can be arrested thereby, but they were soon recovered and handed over to Acharya by Raja Jai Singh of Kumbhanadu.